So without further ado, again, this is Edwin on the right and Emery on the left. And take it away, gentlemen.
Thank you, Ryan and Damien. I really appreciate the introduction. We've had a great number of years with your company, and out of many of our distributors, you've not only performed well, but been very friendly and helpful. And I should say conscientious, is the word that comes to my mind regarding your customers. And that means a lot to us because we care a lot about you as our customer, and we're especially excited about you caring about your customers and their needs. We love the feedback that you give us. In fact, the sign that you are showing there, the 12L, and it also comes in an L-12, an L-16, and an L-18. So, that sign itself was something that came from Coral, need for a lightweight, low-cost, low-powered product. So we're going to be talking about that today, but we want to start out by first saying that Fortel Traffic is based here in Anaheim, California. We're an engineering company. We're also a manufacturing company. Oops, are we still there? Yeah. Okay.
I'm transferring it over so you can share your screen. I forgot to do that.
Okay, no problem. So we are going into, this is our 20th year. We were incorporated back on February 5th, 2001. We started in Northern California, and then we came to Southern California. I was born in Southern California, and so my family and my mother and father for my grandkids are here. So we're excited about being here and expanding here and being in the, near the West and near you. We produce and provide our customers with intelligent, high visibility, illuminated signs, both fixed and mobile, and the software systems.
We specialize in ITS, VMS, CMS, DMS, dual message and static type signs and software. The many multiple different embedded features of our systems allow adaptation to many different types of applications. Speed feedback, monitoring, reporting, messaging, warning, wrong way detection, travel time, automatic license plate recognition, ALPR systems. We use a lot of PTZ stationary and mobile systems with cameras, cloud-based systems, cellular and mobile app software are among some of our standard products and packages that we develop for customers. We're also locally a Vision Zero product partner with LADOT and have hundreds of signs with them.
I let Edwin read that paragraph because that was whew, lot to chew. But I want to say our mission here, our mission is to make school zones, crosswalks, and roadways safe by effectively reducing vehicle speeds. That's our focus. I want to quickly interject that really where this started was way back when I was a little younger than Edwin. I was 18 years old and I was leaving the house there in La Habra. My father said, "Son, go make a difference." And then as I went to take off, he grabbed me and said, "Wait a minute, if you could save a life, that would be great too." And I want to say that those words kind of stuck in my head, and I got pretty passionate about figuring out a way that we could actually save lives. And I believe that that's what we're doing here, and that's what we're trying to do. So how do we effectively reduce vehicle speeds? That's a pretty big question that we wanted to ask.
Yeah, we've found that the most important feature to help us test and prove the effectiveness of our signs is the signs itself. These signs must be able to calculate and report their own effectiveness. Therefore, we're happy to report today that most, all of our signs have this capability to prove their own effectiveness.
Okay, so how does this work? How does this work? It's most important to us that we can prove our own effectiveness, because this means that after you install the sign, you can determine, whether it was worth it or not. And we're very passionate about this. So we do this in several ways. One is that we've worked hard to make very bright, clear, strong, to the point messages. Messages. In fact, we encourage customers to put messages that are directives. I want to give you a quick example of a study that we did in the city of Fullerton. So if you don't think that messages make a difference, this is some of the messages that we put on the signs, and then we studied them week after week after week, and we had 6 different messages that we put on. And one message was school zone ahead, speed limit, your speed, slow down, fine, $220, photo zone. Now, out of those messages, which one do you think was the most effective? So I can't hear from you right now, but most of the time our audience says, of course, fine, $220. Now, you might not put fine $220 on your sign, but it got the most calls. People called and they asked, am I going to get a fine? And this response was something like, first of all, sir or Mrs., you are not going to get a fine, but that is the amount of the fine going 15 miles an hour over the speed limit in this particular school zone area, which of course they were going 15 miles an hour to see.
Otherwise, they wouldn't have seen the message.
That message. So the message does make a difference, and we wanted to point that out before we got into some other things that we're going to talk about here. So other things specifically about how it works is we take multiple speeds and have the ability to take multiple speeds in most of our signs from each passing vehicle. This means that we can gather things like entry, high speeds, low speeds, and exit speeds as the vehicles pass through. So with multiple speeds, we can determine a lot of things, especially and more specifically, how many vehicles are speeding up, how many vehicles are slowing down, and how many vehicles are remaining the same as they pass through. Very important information. We want to know, of course, we want to see, and of course, if it's not the majority slowing down, we want to make changes, and we want to be able to make those changes quickly so that we can make these signs more effective. This was a little presentation that we did for the city of Yorba Linda. So we put the city of Yorba Linda is just right next to us here. It happens to be a city where I live. And this is back a little ways here, but I'm going to go into some of these things. These might bring up some more questions for everyone. We'll skip this screen and we'll skip this screen. But I want to show you, starting with this screen, VCalm VMS status. We have software, of course, it's online, and we can connect very quickly and easily. And in fact, recently, in the last 6 months, we've got many more modem types to select from, many more antenna selections and that kind of thing. We can, I guess what I'm trying to say is we can quickly adapt very inexpensively to many of these different types of locations. If your cell phone has one bar, our antennas will work well. The data rates have come way down. The modem costs have come way down. And speaking frankly, this, when you study, I have a spreadsheet, in fact, that I can share with any of you if you're interested, that if you would like to look at this, it's comparison in cost to visiting a sign, manually connecting to a sign, or communicating to a sign through a monthly service. Now, that monthly service is not typically bought monthly anymore. It's now bought in year increments, or 3-year or 5-year. So in other words, we could sell you any of the signs with packages that are just a few $100s, not thousands of dollars, that it allows communications to your sign. So you can get the feedback automatically. You can do the uploading and downloading. You can even do conditions at your sign. So if certain conditions occur, the signs can notify you. And so that is the power of the online. Also, we have central management. We have an interactive map, of course. We also have information like this. So the sign information being the serial number, the location, the description, things like the time zone, and most importantly, for most customers, is the configuration. We now have our configuration so that we can set up one configuration and share it with all the signs, or 5 configurations. Typical configurations might be 25 mile per hour, 35 mile per hour, 45 mile per hour, and 55 mile per hour. So maybe 4 different configurations that you could quickly select and have almost instantly that particular program, in your sign. And then there's options. Each of the signs now come with the optional GPS. Comes with Wi-Fi or GPS or Bluetooth or modem or photodiode. Photodiode is something that you can rely on to adjust day and night visibility. Many of you may have experience with either our signs, or other signs where they might be bright at night or too bright at night. And so that's what the photodiodes there are for. Down at the bottom there, you'll see upper display and lower display. I've got a quick little, and you're going to help me, Edwin, keep track of my time so we don't go too far, but I've got just an Android phone here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into our program here, and I'll just put it up to the screen for a second here. It's got something similar. You see down on the bottom where it says upper. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, there you go.
You see where it says Coral Sales there. And so online, we can do upper display, lower display, or by directly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in here. Actually, I'm just going to say clear. And yeah. Yeah, so, okay. So I took it out, so it just is blank there. And then I can put in another message like this. And so I put in the test message, and if you hopefully all saw in the back there, it's a test. I can hit clear like that. Instantly goes back to, hey, that's Lake Forest side. So it goes back to the Lake Forest, so we can type a message. So basically, most of our signs support this feature. It's kind of an Amber Alert feature, in that you can instantly send messages to the signs if they have displays. One important thing to remember here is that they also have we also have a piece of software that's called a dispatch. It's actually called VNet. And this dispatch software allows an operator to select 5 signs or 10 signs. We just did a job through Coral up in Marion County, and it was closed signs. And we have the feature of being able to select these ferry crossing signs at multiple locations or different locations, and then be able to turn them on or turn them off quickly. So those features are built into these controllers, and I want you to know these are some of the things that haven't been introduced to you. So,
Yeah, and then jumping into here, maybe put it back to Coral Sales. I like to see Coral Sales. This is one of the reasons why the VCalm BMS has been the legacy product, I would call it, here at Fortel. We're coming on our 20th year here, and with different phases of our signs, the different functions and features that with this upper and lower display that's been able to offer for our customers, mainly here in the state of California, that have really fallen in love with the VCalm VMS, comes from some of that messaging capabilities, different options, and like my father here was saying, it's great to go with the modems. We've had so many customers that end up spending so many hours and time having to physically go to the signs, but all this can be accomplished so easily. And you can involve as well PD or city employees that you sell this to, the agencies to, and they can.
So let me give an example of what Edwin's talking about. We have agencies come to us, like Caltrans came to us, and they said, you know what? We've got an icy curve sign. In fact, we've got 4 icy curve signs. And these icy curve signs go on and off, but we have no idea if they have an effect on traffic. Well, what we were able to do for them is we were able to add a bit. In fact, we did 8 inputs and outputs, and we fed an input of the curve sign into our controller that's nearby. So we can see by date, time, and even second on a sample of speed how the sign affected traffic when it comes on and goes off. And Edwin handed me this controller, and of course, this is just one of our controllers, but you can see big connectors like this one right here that have 8 inputs and 8 outputs. Another example, just real quick, is that every one of these controller boards right here contains a flashing beacon controller within it. That means that this little connector up here, this little 4-pin connector, can go straight to your LED signal heads and power those heads. You don't have to buy a separate flashing beacon controller that might be $1,500 or $2,000 to add the flashing beacon. You can just plug directly in to the board and get your flashing beacon to enhance the system. So you can have signs with beacons, maybe top, bottom, or horizontal. And it does have 3 channels. So you can have 3 different channels on that. Las Vegas wanted 4 in the front and 2 in the back, and we ended up with 3 channels for that. All right. So let me finish up the PowerPoint, and then we'll ask for questions, and we'll see how we're doing on our time. The assigned programming, the graphing, of course, of the data that is capable. The new speed report, which is really cool. Basically, let's say you have 10 signs. This can quickly tell you out of your 10 signs, which is the most effective, even with the messaging and the speed feedback, which one is, which one are the highest exceeded speeds, that kind of thing. It has a cool feature in this report that you can adjust. Some of this came out of LADOT, but LADOT with their SAFE program there, they actually asked me, hey, we want a programmable over 85th percentile. So we calculate the 85th percentile, we put in a 12 over or a 15 over or a 20 over, and it sorts our signs and the data with those with that criteria. So that's just a little example of the speed report. Also, other benefits here. There's a screen that shows the speed threshold that you can adjust and identify. We also have the ability, and this is something that we're Edwin and I talked about earlier. We're going to present it at the end, but it's on the slide. So that's the LPR.
Yeah, I mean, one of the exciting things about our signs is we're not seeking to just give feedback and that's it. Just to display what speed the cars are going or whatever may be passing through, and that's it. We're always seeking to be innovative and keep coming out with new features and functions. Almost like every couple months you get a notification on your phone saying there's a new update of software, we've got a team of engineers that are always working on customers' needs and what we're seeking to come out with. And so this is one of the exciting things that we've been really put a lot of time and effort into, and it's going to bring so many different. Yeah, this is
one of the examples that we'll just show you, just a little LPR head that can interface with our signs. So that way we can detect plates, and we can use the plates not to track, not to know who the person is, but to identify how many vehicles are maybe repeating the over threshold speed. That kind of thing is very valuable. So like Edwin was saying, we're passionate, we're focused on what makes things more efficient, more effective, work at a greater level. So you'll see at the near the end of the first quarter, or at least in the first quarter, we're just about ready to announce a new generation, if you will. The good news is that those customers that have our signs, many of them will be upgradable, easily upgradable to extra components that will give them repeat offense information. It will also give other information as well, analytic information and classification information, that kind of thing. All right, let's move on, and then we'll turn to questions. Non-intrusive identification of repeat offenders. Yeah, okay. And the big picture there, which is really one spoke of the wheel is our family. It's now up to 32 different models of signs. But you can see if we go counterclockwise around, you can see that we also have the ITS signs and the LPR that I just showed you. This cute little product here, which is coming in really, really handy. I'd like to play a video sometime for you if you're interested. We've got a demo that's out here, but basically just pushing the button and then coming up with the speed 300 feet away with a little handheld radar gives our customers the idea of, hey, whether or not we have really a problem here or how large the problem is here. One other purpose of this also, by the way, is conflicting radar. I don't know if you've run into this, but if you have an airport nearby, you could have radar interference. And we have run into this. And with this little handheld device, we can just hold the button down and spin around in a circle, and it will go crazy if radar is shooting at it. It'll report like 200 on it. And we've used it. It works really well for interfering radar in the area. And so it's a good thing to check before we
really great for city engineers if they need
before we go to the money of putting it in.
Right. If they need to test a location, they have civilians calling, concerned about their kids and concerned about the speeding that's going on in their neighborhood or their area. These are great for an engineer or a member of the city to go and test the location and collect some data.
We've actually had crosswalk reports, and sometimes we have neighborhood reports, and we go out there and all the vehicles are under 25. So anyway, enough on that. We finished up the PowerPoint. It's a good little time for a break, and then we just got a few more minutes planned for you on talking about some hardware. So again, we'll break for question.
Yeah, I mean, anything so far, feel free. You can unmute or send a question in the chat. We'd love to address any questions you have right now. Oh, here's the chat.
So for your
Full screen.
back signs, I know most signs record one speed per vehicle. How many recordings do you get on your signs per vehicle?
So the answer is almost indefinite. It really depends on it's not indefinite, but it depends on the size of the memory card. So we now have, we're now beyond the FAT16. For many years we ran FAT16. We're now at FAT32, which allows higher gigabyte. We're having a hard time buying anything less than 8 gigabytes, which gives us 160,000. It gives us that's a monthly, and it gives us up to 5 years. With 100,000 per day. So we don't run into a limit anymore with the 8 gig, but we're shipping 16 gig. So there's just tons and tons of room. It's a very small file size. It's actually a kilobyte size file that is embedded encrypted file. Did that answer?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Here there was John Wisdom. What scheduling capabilities for school zones?
Okay, yeah, so we have multiple scheduling capabilities. Some of our controllers are 6 and some of them are 7, meaning separate on, off, on, off, on, off, and then back on. So that's per day. And then if you're online, we can, and actually even if you're not online, we have the ability to run special events. So in addition to the daily on-off periods of time, we have weekly, we have monthly, and then we have special events, which might be a holiday or something like that. So I think we've got it covered. We usually don't run into anything we can't tackle as far as the events go.
I'm not sure if John already has a vSpeed Online account or has products with Fortel, but when you're on there, we can always we've got one of our engineers here, Tom, is an expert at running through and just really easily explaining how to program school zone times and hours and different speed limit thresholds for different times. And so we can always set up a time for John Wisdom or anyone else that needs some service help. We can schedule some time for you to have one of our experts here, go through it with you.
Thank you.
So that's all the questions for now that I see. So.
Okay. Shall we move on?
Yeah, I know we've mainly kind of spoken a lot about. Yeah, I know we've spoken a lot about the VCalm VMS, kind of our legacy product. But like at the beginning, was brought up, the L series works great for applications like low powered applications where you have a school zone that you want to deploy and collect some data. I mean, what's so cool about the L with how light it is one, we got under 25 pounds, the L-12, and then the L-16 and some of the bigger models are under 35 pounds. So, some of you guys are familiar with how much that weighs. And so you can even put it on a telesbar mount with a stop sign, or you don't have to deal as much with, a whole pole installation, foundation, all that can do with that sometimes with a permanent fixed location. This is more mobile. We've had customers with Coral and others that have ordered quick release battery systems so that you don't have solar hooked up with it. You can just deploy it for a week, 2 weeks. When the batteries die, you can swap it out with new batteries. Our main goal initially with the L was this was a very basic sign that the controller was really meant for originally not collecting lots of data because of the power that was behind that. But our new controller that I know we're coming out with for that model will have the capability of more efficient data collection. Because data collection is really where we're seeking to go. We just we know there's other people out there that are making really cheap signs. And sometimes a lot of what we do is we'll replace with customers. They ordered some signs through someone else and they all died within a few years, or it's out of country service, so it's hard to get new parts and stuff coming in. So with us, with having everything made here in the USA, and we're based here in California, we're really seeking to build quality that can last. We've got some signs out in the field that have lasted over 10 plus years.
15.
I was just out in the field. Yeah, I was just out in Chino Hills, and there were some signs that were over 10 years old, still doing great. So
okay, I'm going to kind of recap on a hardware what Edwin just referred to. We have done everything in phases. So phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're actually in our 6th generation of our controller. We don't have the 1, 2, and 3 here, but we have the 4. So phase 4, have the 5 with Ethernet, and then we have the 6 here, which is the new 6L, and then after the new 6L will be the standard 6, which will actually have the Ethernet on it as well. As Edwin said, our initial goal for the 6 was to give us a low powered, lightweight, work with lithium-ion battery, and not have data collection. But as Edwin mentioned, we added the data collection, and you can see this little, in fact, that's a 16 gig little micro SDHC card, and it plugs in right there. And so this controller now supports data recording on the little micro card. The very next version coming is the Ethernet version, which will give us not only low-cost modems, but high-speed communications to e-signs. Here's the key factor. The 6 that's coming will replace everything downward. So we've always done backward compatibility as far as being able to have the newest sign. They're embedded solutions which help us to control and develop and provide quickly changes and features and things for our customers. Again, it's got the beacon up here, and this can also stand as just a flashing beacon as well. So it's simplified. In our history, we've gone more features, and then we started getting so many features that customers started asking for, give me something just super simple. So this controller can be programmed online or remotely, but it also is very simple with these 2 buttons, meaning that you can just push a button and you can select, you push a button, the display comes on, and you can push the other button and adjust the speed, and then you can hold the button down and push the button again and select the threshold. So it does some very quick on-site adjust speed, adjust threshold. Simple thing. It was also made for trailers so that we can do it very quickly and easily without the use of a laptop or a big controller or something like that. So
there was one other question here from Brian. Yeah, Brian, will the new phase 6L controller still be using the AGD331 radar?
Yes, the answer is yes. It is. The 6L is crossed with all 3 of the current brands that we're selling. So the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
One other sign that I know we haven't talked a whole lot about, ITS is really going to have some breakthroughs as well with the new controller, from what I'm aware. We have some customers that have been very interested in ITS because the whole sign is capable to
alphanumeric graphic, as well as having the ability to communicate over standard protocols like NTCP. That's been important to our customers that are IPS and that have the variable message signs and that kind of thing.
Right.
ECMS, trailers, that kind of thing. I didn't mention earlier that I did want to mention that you can get lots of different kinds of colors too. This is just a little box demonstrating the different kinds of colors. I don't know how that's looking over there, but we've got quite a lot of colors to choose from on the LED. Yeah, we just did a proceed to safe house up in Alaska on the Whittier Tunnel. 20 signs throughout that longest tunnel in North America. If you ever get a chance, go up there to Alaska and go to the city of Whittier and go through that tunnel. It's something really incredible. But that was words that said proceed to safe house. So it wasn't, and they, in addition to that, they had the speed monitoring feedback. So we are a company that can adapt quickly to maybe some of your ideas that you have in safety and helping the public. Please keep in mind that we like that kind of thing. We would like to talk with you and either with Coral and or together with Coral. So.
Right.
Okay. The only other thing, I'm looking at the time here, we're about 45 minutes in, so we'll just wrap up. Did we want to open any of these up?
I mean, if you'd like, I can roll up.
Since we're kind of, I wanted to show you the lithium-ion batteries in this. I'm going to stand up to the side here, and Edwin can move this up here. Edwin, set it up there so you can see.
Oh yeah. Well, I can hold it like just here.
Yeah. I think right here. I'll just put it right there, dead center. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get better at these. Yeah, so we just wanted to show you the inside of this. If you haven't seen the inside of the L, it's quite simple in design. The controller does most of the work, but it does have some powerful lithium-ion battery here. That's a 20 amp hour, and believe it or not, it has room for two. And this is our 12-inch digit. So again, it comes in 12, 16, and 18. And those batteries just go internally. So you don't have a battery box, or in some cases, most importantly, the heavy weight.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference of having to put a steel galvanized, 1A, we call it down here Caltrans type pole, a heavy gauge, or a lightweight telespar. And maybe Coral can talk a little bit about that. I know they have some customers that have put them on telespars, and we Edwin, I know mentioned it before, but the signs range from 25 pounds with the batteries on up to 40 pounds, but under 40 pounds. So pretty light systems. So I think we're wrapping it up here. If there's any other questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Just excited for the future. I know it's been a really tough year for a lot of people, and this new virus that affected the whole world, was such a hard thing to go through. But I really hope and have a lot of faith that this next year is going to be really good. And we're coming through with a lot of new exciting stuff. And I'm just really excited to see these signs keep making a difference. And with our new innovations that we didn't really divulge a ton of the new features because it's still in the next quarter that it's going to come out. But when it does, we're just so excited to see with the new camera work we've been doing and the different add-on capabilities that we can put into the signs, all the new branches of data that we'll be able to collect and Yeah. I want to say.
Oh, yeah. And I just want to add to that sentiment, as far as us being, we're grateful that we have been essential. We also have many, maintenance contracts. So we do maintenance locally. And that helps us with the information coming back as to what we need to improve and that kind of thing. But we've been very fortunate to be able to be, working and keeping busy. And in fact, in our case, it's created more development, in a shorter amount of time because we've been inside, many times with masks, and we've got some new things to show you. So with that, we're very excited about going forward and sharing more with you in the future. Feel free to contact Coral or us, and we look forward to doing this again one day.
And I think we will conclude it for the day. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And
Thank
we
you.
will-
Thanks, Fortel.
Thank you, Ryan. Damien.
Yeah. Thank you, Ryan and Damien.
Have a good one.
You.
Take care,
have a
guys.
great one.
Thanks.